I was standing knee-deep in East Texas mud when the new project manager cut my crew's water supply and told me my 25 years of highway construction experience were obsolete. He didn't just fire me that day. He stranded me on a back road without transportation, laughing that his MBA made him smarter than any old-timer with dirt under his fingernails. He thought he'd eliminated a problem employee. Instead, he'd just awakened someone who knew exactly which legal strings to pull to bring his entire $2.5 million highway project crashing down. My name is Mason Rodriguez. I'm 47 years old, and I've been building roads since before GPS was a thing. That humid August morning started like any other on the Interstate 35 expansion project outside Tyler, Texas. The air was already thick at 6 a.m., carrying the familiar smell of diesel exhaust, hot asphalt, and the red clay dust that gets into everything down here. My crew was making solid progress laying the foundation for what would become the main commercial corridor through town. I'd started my construction career right out of high school, but not before spending 4 years in the Army Corps of Engineers. Military service teaches you things they don't cover in business school, like how to read terrain, how to manage logistics under pressure, and most importantly, how to lead men who depend on you to make the right decisions. Those skills served me well when I came back to Texas and started learning the civilian construction trade. The Rodriguez family had been in Texas for 3 generations. My grandfather worked the oil fields, my father built highways for the state DOT, and I'd continued the tradition of working with my hands. When my father passed 10 years ago, I inherited not just his work ethic but also some property outside Tyler, 40 acres of scrub oak and red clay that the family had held on to since the 1960s. I was checking the grade on the eastbound lanes with our CAT 320 excavator when I spotted the white Escalade, bouncing down our access road, kicking up clouds of red dust that would settle on everything for the next hour. The vehicle looked out of place among our weathered pickup trucks and equipment trailers. "Here comes trouble," muttered Shane Wilson, my apprentice. Shane was 22, built like a linebacker, and had the kind of work ethic you rarely see in young men these days. His girlfriend Maria was 8 months pregnant with their first child, and this job meant everything to him. I'd been teaching him the finer points of highway construction, how to read soil conditions, how to operate the heavy equipment safely, and most importantly, how to think 2 steps ahead of potential problems. "Keep your head down and let me handle this," I told him, wiping grease off my hands with an old shop rag. I'd learned over the years that when management shows up unexpectedly, it usually means trouble. Out stepped Cole Parker, Reed Johnson's nephew and our new project manager. Cole was 29 years old, fresh out of business school with an MBA from some fancy university up north. He had about as much understanding of highway construction as I had of theoretical physics. The kid wore designer work boots that had never touched anything rougher than a boardroom floor and carried a tablet everywhere like it contained the secrets of the universe. Reed Johnson had built Johnson Construction from nothing over 30 years. He'd started with a single dump truck and a willingness to work 16-hour days, gradually building a reputation for quality work and fair dealing. Reed was old school, a man whose word meant something, who understood that construction was as much about managing people as it was about moving dirt and laying asphalt. But Reed's health had been failing since his heart attack the previous winter. Doctor's orders had forced him to step back from day-to-day operations, and he'd made the mistake of handing control to Cole. In the 3 weeks since Cole had taken over as project manager, we'd had more safety incidents than in the previous 6 months combined. Equipment was being pushed beyond its limits, safety protocols were being ignored, and experienced operators were being treated like day laborers. Cole walked over to where I stood, stepping carefully around the mud puddles in his pristine boots. He didn't bother to look me in the eye, just stared at the glowing screen of his tablet like it held all the answers to life's questions. "Mason," he said, not bothering with any pleasantries or even a simple good morning. "I'm looking at yesterday's progress reports on the project dashboard. You're running 2 hours behind schedule on the grade work for Section 3. I leaned against the massive tire of our excavator, trying to keep my voice level and professional. That's because we hit an unexpected water table about 50 feet into the cut. Ground's a lot softer than the original soil samples indicated. We need to bring in additional base material and compact it properly, or this section of road will start sinking within the first year." Cole frowned, tapping furiously on his tablet screen like he was conducting some kind of digital orchestra. My efficiency optimization models clearly show that proper resource allocation and workflow management eliminate weather and soil-related delays. If you were managing this operation correctly, we'd be ahead of schedule, not behind. Your models? I kept my voice steady, though I could feel my patience starting to thin. Do those models account for the fact that this particular stretch of highway sits on a layer of clay that turns into something resembling chocolate pudding when it gets wet? Because if we don't stabilize this foundation properly, the state inspector will red tag the entire section and shut us down. Cole finally looked up from his tablet, his eyes cold and dismissive. Behind those expensive designer glasses, I could see the arrogance of someone who'd never had dirt under his fingernails or calluses on his hands. The state inspector works for politicians, Mason. Politicians care about ribbon-cutting ceremonies and opening dates, not engineering perfectionism. We need to move faster, not slower. He turned on his heel and started walking back toward his Escalade, stepping around the mud puddles like they might contaminate his $1,000 boots. I expect to see significant improvement in tomorrow's productivity metrics, he called over his shoulder. The silence he left behind felt heavier than the humid Texas air. Shane looked pale, like he'd just witnessed a car accident. The other operators had stopped what they were doing to watch the exchange, and I could see the concern in their faces. He's going to get someone hurt, I muttered to myself, not knowing that he was about to try to destroy me first. The next few days brought a series of increasingly dangerous decisions from Cole. He cut our safety meetings from 15 minutes to 5, claiming they were productivity killers. He eliminated the mandatory equipment inspections, saying modern machinery didn't need old-fashioned babysitting. Most troubling of all, he started pressuring operators to work longer hours without proper rest breaks. "We're not running a country club," became his favorite phrase whenever someone raised safety concerns. The breaking point came the following Tuesday. Dark clouds had been building since dawn, and by noon the National Weather Service had issued a severe thunderstorm warning for our area. Lightning was flickering on the horizon, still distant but moving our way fast. Any experienced construction supervisor knows you don't operate heavy equipment during electrical storms. I was in the site trailer reviewing our environmental permits, a stack of paperwork thicker than a phone book that detailed exactly what we could and couldn't do on this project. The Clean Water Act, endangered species protections, and air quality standards all had to be followed to the letter, or the EPA would shut us down faster than you could say federal violation. Cole burst into the trailer, bringing a gust of hot, humid air that made the papers on my desk flutter. Sweat was already beading on his forehead, and his usually perfect hair was starting to wilt in the heat. "Why is the paving crew shut down?" he demanded, not bothering with any kind of greeting. I pointed out the window toward the darkening sky. "Because there's lightning within 5 miles of our position. OSHA Regulation 192.6.95 specifically prohibits operating heavy equipment during electrical storms. It's not a suggestion, Cole. It's federal law." "We have a deadline with the Texas Department of Transportation," Cole shot back, his voice rising. "The contract specifies liquidated damages of $5,000 per day for every day we're late. If we miss this completion window, we'll pay penalties that could bankrupt this company." I stood up slowly. Years of throwing around jackhammers, hauling steel plate, and wrestling with hydraulic equipment had kept me in decent shape despite being on the wrong side of 45. At 6 feet 2 inches, I had about 6 inches on Cole, and probably 50 pounds of muscle he'd never see from behind a desk. "Listen to me very carefully," I said, keeping my voice low and level. "I've been building roads since you were learning to tie your shoes. Lightning can jump from a crane boom to an operator's cab. It can arc through wet metal and kill a man instantly. You want to be the one to call some kid's wife and explain why her husband got electrocuted because you were worried about a contract penalty?" Cole's face flushed red, and I could see a vein pulsing in his temple. "You're always insubordinate, Mason. Always no, no, no. Uncle Reed warned me the old guard would resist modernization. He said I might need to show strength to establish proper authority. Reed hired me because I know how to deliver projects safely, on time, and under budget," I countered. "He understands that shortcuts in construction don't save time, they create disasters." Cole grabbed the radio from my desk and keyed the microphone. "All units, this is Parker. Resume paving operations immediately. Weather delays are no longer acceptable on this project." Through the trailer window, I watched as the reluctant operators climbed back onto their machines. You could see the hesitation in their body language. These were experienced men who understood the risks, but they also understood the reality of needing to feed their families. 20 minutes later, a brilliant white flash lit up the sky, followed immediately by a crack of thunder that rattled the windows of our trailer. A lightning bolt had struck a power line about 200 yards from where the paving crew was working. The lights in our trailer flickered, and for a moment the air itself seemed to smell of ozone and danger. Nobody got hurt that day, but it could easily have been a very different story. The bolt had struck close enough that static electricity made the hair on every operator's arm stand up. If that lightning had hit one of our cranes or the asphalt paver, we would have been dealing with fatalities instead of just a scared crew and a blown transformer. "You just proved my point," I said quietly, watching the operators shut down their equipment and head for the safety of their trucks. Cole stared out at the storm, his jaw clenched tight. "I just proved that fear-based management is obsolete in the modern construction industry. We don't wait for perfect conditions anymore, Mason. We engineer solutions to overcome obstacles." That's when I knew Cole Parker was dangerous. Not in the way a criminal is dangerous, but in the way a child with a loaded gun is dangerous. He had authority without wisdom, power without understanding, and the kind of arrogance that gets people killed. He had no idea that Texas weather doesn't negotiate with MBA theories. Mother Nature was about to teach him a very expensive lesson about the difference between managing spreadsheets and managing reality. But as it turned out, I was going to be the one paying tuition for his education. The situation deteriorated rapidly over the next week. Cole's reckless management style was creating chaos across the entire project. Equipment was breaking down from being pushed too hard. Our access road was turning into a muddy mess from overloaded trucks, and experienced operators were starting to look for work elsewhere. I found myself spending more time fixing Cole's mistakes than actually supervising construction. When he ordered the crew to skip the compaction process on a section of roadway base, I had to shut down the operation and bring in additional equipment to do the job properly. When he tried to save money by using substandard aggregate material, I had to explain to him that the state inspector would reject the entire section. "You're undermining my authority," Cole complained during one of our increasingly frequent confrontations. "I'm trying to keep us from getting shut down by the DOT," I replied. The crisis that would ultimately destroy both of us came on a Friday afternoon. I was teaching Shane how to properly set up a grade laser, a precision instrument that ensures road surfaces are built to exact specifications. It's delicate work that requires patience and attention to detail, exactly the kind of skills that can't be learned from a textbook. "The laser has to be perfectly level," I explained to Shane, adjusting the tripod legs on the uneven ground. "If you're off by even a fraction of a degree, the entire road surface will have a crown or a dip that'll cause drainage problems down the line." Shane nodded, concentrating hard. He'd been taking notes in a small spiral notebook, sketching diagrams and writing down key measurements. The kid reminded me of myself at that age, eager to learn, willing to work hard, and smart enough to understand that there was a right way and a wrong way to do things. That's when Cole came storming across the worksite, his face flushed red from either anger or the Texas heat, probably both. He was carrying a clipboard and wearing his usual expression of barely controlled frustration. "Mason Rodriguez," he shouted loud enough for half the crew to hear. "Why is the aggregate delivery 2 hours behind schedule?" I straightened up from the laser setup, wiping sweat from my forehead with the back of my hand. "Because our haul road is falling apart from all the overweight trucks you've been running. The delivery trucks are getting stuck in the mud about halfway up the grade." "The trucks are fine," Cole declared with the absolute certainty of someone who'd never actually driven a loaded dump truck on a soft road. "I've already called the hauling company and lodged a formal complaint about their driver's performance." I stared at him in disbelief. "Cole, you can't just demand that the laws of physics work differently. That access road needs maintenance, or we're going to lose a truck in the creek. It's not a driver problem, it's an infrastructure problem." "Everything with you is a problem, Mason," Cole snapped. "Every single decision I make, you have some excuse why it won't work. You undermine every initiative, you question every directive, and you're infecting the rest of the crew with your negative attitude." That's when I realized what was happening. Cole had painted himself into a corner with his unrealistic promises to the investors and the state DOT. The project was behind schedule, over budget, and plagued with problems that could have been avoided with proper planning. He needed a scapegoat, and I was the obvious choice. "Maybe it's time for some fresh blood on this crew," Cole continued, his voice getting louder. "Maybe we need people who are more aligned with 21st century construction methodologies." Shane had gone pale and was backing away from the confrontation. The other operators had stopped working and were watching from a distance. Nobody wanted to get caught in the crossfire. The axe fell about an hour later. I was in the equipment yard checking the hydraulic fluid on our Cat 320 when Cole approached with his clipboard and two witnesses, his assistant manager and the safety coordinator he'd hired to replace the one who quit the previous week. "Mason Rodriguez," he announced in a voice loud enough to carry across the entire worksite. "Your employment with Johnson Construction is hereby terminated, effective immediately." The words hit me like a physical blow. In 25 years of construction work, I'd never been fired from a job. I'd quit jobs, been laid off due to weather or budget cuts, but never fired. "What are you talking about?" I asked, though deep down I'd known this was coming. Cole consulted his clipboard with theatrical precision. Insubordination, failure to meet production quotas, undermining company morale, and resistance to operational improvements. Pick any one of them. The result is the same. You're done. "This is about you covering up your own incompetence," I said, keeping my voice low and steady despite the anger building in my chest. "Get your personal belongings and get off my job site," Cole continued, clearly enjoying his moment of power. "Company vehicle keys, radio, hard hat, safety vest, access badge, everything with the Johnson Construction logo. I want it all, now." I looked around at the crew, men I'd worked with for years, some I'd trained myself. Shane was staring at the ground, his face pale with fear that he might be next. The older operators looked angry but helpless. They had mortgages, car payments, families to support. They couldn't afford to speak up, and I didn't blame them. "Fine," I said, reaching into my pocket for the keys to the company pickup truck. I pulled them out along with the company radio and my access badge, dropping them into Cole's outstretched hand with a metallic clink. "You're making a mistake, Cole," I said quietly. "Not just with me, but with this whole project. You don't understand the geology here. You don't understand the drainage patterns. You don't understand the legal complexities. I have GPS and digital project management software," Cole scoffed, pocketing the keys. "I have soil analysis reports and computer modeling. I don't need your gut feelings or your old-timer folklore." He pointed toward the county road that led back toward town. "Walk. Company policy clearly states that terminated employees are not authorized to use company vehicles for any purpose." "My personal truck is parked at the main gate," I said. "That's 1.5 miles through this heat." "Should have thought about that before you decided to be difficult," Cole replied with a smirk that I wanted to wipe off his face. "Enjoy the hike, Mason. Maybe it'll give you time to think about attitude adjustment." I started walking down that dusty gravel road, the Texas sun beating down on my shoulders. But instead of feeling defeated, I felt something else, building inside me, not rage, but something colder and more focused. Cole thought he'd just eliminated a problem employee. He had no idea that he'd just fired the only person who understood a critical detail about the project's legal foundation. The walk to my truck gave me time to think, and by the time I reached my old Ford pickup, my anger had crystallized into something much more dangerous: cold, calculated determination. Cole thought he'd just solved his management problem by getting rid of a troublemaker. He had no idea he'd just made the biggest mistake of his professional life. You see, our job site accessed the main highway through a private easement that crossed land my family had owned since the 1960s. When the state condemned most of our property for the original highway construction 5 years ago, my father had been smart enough to hire a good lawyer. While we'd lost the bulk of the land, we'd retained certain critical rights, including control over commercial access, across a specific section of County Road. That evening, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of black coffee and called my son Javier. At 25, he'd just passed the Texas bar exam and was working for a law firm down in Houston, specializing in property rights and environmental law. He'd inherited his grandfather's sharp mind and his mother's patience, qualities that made him a formidable lawyer despite his young age. "Dad, what's wrong?" "You sound upset," Javier said as soon as he heard my voice. I explained the situation, the firing, Cole's reckless management, the safety violations I'd witnessed. Javier listened without interrupting, the way good lawyers do when they're gathering facts. "That sounds like wrongful termination," he said when I finished. "We could file suit against Johnson Construction for workplace retaliation." "Maybe," I said, "but first I want you to pull the deed records for the Rodriguez family trust, specifically the easement agreement for the county road access, where they're running all their equipment." I could hear him typing on his computer. After a few minutes, he let out a low whistle. Dad, this is very interesting. According to the county records, you retain perpetual rights to control commercial traffic across that access point. The easement specifically requires written authorization from the property owner for any vehicles exceeding 10,000 pounds gross weight. What kind of authorization did Johnson Construction get? Let me check their permit applications. More typing. I see applications for environmental permits, state highway access, utility crossings, but nothing for commercial use of the private easement. Did they get written permission from you? We had a gentleman's agreement with Reed Johnson, I said. Nothing formal, just a handshake deal based on mutual respect. Then they're trespassing, Javier said, his voice taking on the sharp edge that meant he'd found blood in the water. Every truck, every piece of equipment, every delivery vehicle. Commercial use without written authorization is a violation of property rights under Texas law. I hung up the phone with a grim smile. Cole had fired the one person who could legally authorize access to his construction site. For the next 2 days, I monitored the situation from my kitchen, using an old radio scanner to listen in on the project communications. What I heard was the sound of a construction project falling apart in real time. "Dispatch, we've got another truck stuck on the access road," came the voice of one of the drivers Tuesday morning. "This one's sunk to the axles. How bad is it?" That was Cole's voice, already sounding strained. "Bad enough that we're going to need 2 bulldozers and a heavy wrecker to pull him out, and the road's completely blocked. Nothing's getting in or out until we clear this mess." I listened to Cole screaming at various people for the better part of an hour before he finally thought to call the county road department about establishing an alternate access route. That's when he learned about the easement issue. "What do you mean we need written permission?" Cole's voice was getting higher and more panicked. "We've been using that road for months. Sir, according to our records, commercial traffic on that section requires written authorization from the Rodriguez Family Trust," the county clerk explained with bureaucratic patience. "You'll need to contact the property owner directly to obtain proper documentation." Wednesday morning, my phone rang. The caller ID showed Johnson Construction. "Mr. Rodriguez, this is Cole Parker. I think we may have had a misunderstanding yesterday, and I'd like to discuss resolving this access road situation." "I'm listening," I said, taking a sip of my coffee. "It seems there's some confusion about the easement paperwork. Look, maybe we both said some things in the heat of the moment. I'm prepared to bring you back as a consulting supervisor while we work through this administrative issue." "Consulting supervisor?" I laughed, and it wasn't a pleasant sound. "You mean you want to pay me to clean up the mess you created after you fired me for trying to prevent it? The access road situation is just a temporary logistics problem. We can work around it while we get the proper documentation filed. Cole, the access road situation exists because you ignored 25 years of experience and fired the guy who arranged the original agreement. And the documentation situation exists because you never bothered to understand the legal framework of your own project." There was a long pause. "What do you want, Mason?" "I want my job back, full supervisor authority with no interference from you. I want Shane Wilson promoted to lead equipment operator. And I want a written apology to the crew for the safety violations you've imposed over the past month. I can't just reverse a termination decision. It would undermine my credibility with the investors. Then you're not getting access to my road," I said, and hung up. Thursday brought desperation. Cole hired an independent contractor to survey an alternate access route, but they quickly discovered what any local would have told them. The terrain was too steep and environmentally sensitive to permit road construction without federal environmental impact studies that would take months to complete. Friday afternoon, a black Lincoln Navigator pulled into my driveway. Out stepped Lance Cooper, the lead investor from Apex Capital Management, followed by a man in an expensive suit who had lawyer written all over him. "Mr. Rodriguez," Cooper said, walking up my front steps like a man who'd run out of options. "I'm Lance Cooper from Apex Capital. We need to have a serious conversation." "I figured you'd show up eventually," I said, gesturing to the porch chairs. "Sweet tea?" "This isn't a social call, Mr. Rodriguez. We have a $2.5 million project that's completely dead in the water because of this access dispute." "The project isn't dead," I corrected. "It's just being managed by someone who doesn't understand how the construction business actually works." Cooper pulled out a thick folder and set it on the table between us. "I've spent the last 2 days reviewing this entire situation. The equipment breakdowns, the safety violations, the schedule delays, the legal complications. It's clear that Mr. Parker lacks the experience necessary for this level of responsibility. Took you long enough to figure that out. We're prepared to offer you the project manager position. Full operational authority, significant salary increase, and equity participation in future Apex projects. I leaned back in my chair and looked out at the dusty county road. What happens to Cole? Mr. Parker will be reassigned to our corporate development office in Houston, where his MBA skills can be better utilized in a more appropriate capacity. And Shane Wilson gets promoted to lead operator? Absolutely. I stood up and extended my hand. When do I start? Monday morning. And Mason, Reed Johnson built something special with this company. It would have been a real shame to see it destroyed by inexperience and arrogance. Monday morning, I drove through the gate of the Johnson construction site for the first time in 2 weeks. Shane was waiting for me with the biggest grin I'd seen since his daughter was born. Boss, you should have seen Cole's face Friday when they told him about the transfer. I thought he was going to cry right there in front of everybody. Don't gloat, Shane. Just focus on doing good work. We finished the highway project 3 weeks ahead of the revised schedule and $200,000 under budget. The Texas DOT inspector called it one of the finest road construction jobs he'd seen in his 20-year career. Cole Parker? Last I heard, he was shuffling papers in a Houston office tower, probably still trying to figure out why his MBA didn't make him invincible. Here's what I learned from the whole experience. Respect isn't something you can demand or buy with a fancy degree. It's something you earn by showing up every day, doing the work right, and taking care of the people who depend on you. Real power doesn't come from having the newest technology or the most impressive title. It comes from understanding how things actually work and having the relationships that make things happen. Sometimes that power comes from 25 years of hard-earned experience. Sometimes it comes from knowing which papers are filed down at the county courthouse. And sometimes it comes from being smart enough to keep your mouth shut until the right moment to speak up. Cole never learned that authority without competence is just noise, and that sometimes the most powerful person in the room is the one who knows which bridges not to burn. The real lesson here isn't about revenge. It's about understanding that knowledge is power, but wisdom is knowing when and how to use that power.